drums are the #1 most important thing in any beat, but I see so many people adding drums to their samples without any basic knowledge, which just results in you ruining your sample or just making a mediocre beat. So today I'll take you through 4 steps to ensure that you have the perfect drums for your sample. First, we gotta start with the drum sounds you choose. Let's listen to these 2 sets of drums that I have here. Now for me, it's obvious that the second set of drums is way better because like what we're doing with the sample is closer to a boom bap beat. So the first set of drums that are trap just don't fit the vibe. So that's point number 1. You gotta choose the drums that actually like match the genre you're going for. So if with the sample I'm going for boom bap, obviously I'm gonna choose boom bap sounds and not trap sounds. Now listen to the additional drums that I got here. It's also a set of boom bap drums, however it's even better. But why? Well, if we look at our pattern, it's actually quite condensed. So let's take a look at our first boom bap drums. And if we take a look at the kick and snare, the samples themselves are kinda long, which matched with the high tempo, we got 94 BPM here, and our pattern is quite condensed. It does not fit as well as this second set of boom bap drums, which the snare is so much shorter. And the kick as well. So that's point number 2. Watch out for how long or short your sounds are, depending on your BPM and your pattern. So for condensed patterns and fast patterns, use shorter sounds, but for longer patterns with slower BPMs, use longer sounds, like more reverby sounds. Okay, let's move to the drum arrangement. If you look at this, it might feel quite complex, but it's actually not. It's a simple drum arrangement. So let's try to digest it. So first of all, we got snares, and they're literally the most basic snares that they can be, because we just have snares on 2 and 4. And that just repeats throughout the whole pattern. Now for kicks, I would tell you to just start with placing your kicks on 1 as a starting point, because usually you do want that kick to hit on the first beat. So now we can start adding more kicks in between. So basically just do that to whatever feels good to you. This is like what I did, but literally just play around with it. Place kicks, listen to it, and just go back and forth with it till you find something good. Also notice how here, like I got a kick that's right before the next bar, and it just, the velocity of it is brought down a little bit. That's actually called a ghost kick, which gives you that nice boom that goes into the next bar. So notice how the kicks and the velocities of the kicks are kind of different. So the kick that's always on the 1 is actually the strongest kick. And then we just kind of play around with the velocity. Now every 4 bars and every 8 bars, I got some variation. So basically at the end of the 4 bars, I got like a little different pattern here, right? So there's a little bit more kicks. And then at the end, we got like a roll that just comes down. So let me play it to you how it sounds. And the same happens at the end of the 8-bar loop, but here we just go all out. We just do like an absolute massive kick roll, which actually, like, this is kind of a technique stolen from Kanye. He loved doing kick rolls. So now to the hi-hats. My hi-hats are actually very simple. First of all, what I want you to notice is that this is just a simple 2-step pattern. There is nothing more to it. And then if you actually look at them, they're slightly dragged off grid. So they're not as rigid, and they actually got like their human swing to them. Also, I want you to notice that first 2 bars, I have no hi-hats, then they come in for 2 bars, then there's 2 bars with nothing, and then they again come in for 2 bars. This is very much what Kanye used to do again on his old beats. Now, lastly, perks. Basically, what I want to tell you with perks is to be very intentional with them. So if you look at my perks, actually, I got a lot of them here, but they're all intentional. So first, we actually got the second like hi-hat that gives this like nice bounce to the beat. Then we actually got crashes, which just one at the beginning and 2 at the end. Right? So those go very nicely into this one because they're lower velocity. Then we got open hats. And then we got the rest of the perks. They have a solo out the perks without any kicks and basic hi-hats and snares, and you just listen to them, then you can just feel they're like intentional. They're not placed at random. They still keep like some kind of pattern, composure to them. So that's the big takeaway. I want you to be intentional with your perks, which by the way, I'm gonna just throw that in there, that kind of loved perks. Point number 3 is drums processing. I'm gonna be honest, when it comes to my drum processing, usually what I just do is I just throw in Cymatics Diablo and that's it. That's actually a free plugin that you can download and it makes your drums like sound so much better and has like 90% of my actual processing on the drums. It just gives so much characters to the drums, but there's still a couple things I actually do, so let me show them to you. So first of all, I remove any unwanted frequencies. So for example, if we got hi-hats, I don't want the like low end mud of the hi-hat to mess with my kick. So basically I just add an EQ that removes like any of the low end. So I actually do it for every single one of my hi-hats. Next is compression. So I add LA, which is actually a free plugin that simulates LA2A. So it just squeezes out a little bit of more out of the drums. And that's pretty much it for the processing. I also add a little bit of saturation because I just like how it sounds. Lastly, I want to focus on the way you process your samples because actually, believe it or not, like processing your sample correctly has a huge influence on the way your drums will sound. I don't actually do much here. I just use like 3 plugins, but it's actually very crucial for the way your drum sounds because let me actually remove it. So much more cluttered with it. So basically I do 3 things. So first of all, I make space in the high end. So for that I use Origin from Cymatics. It's also a free plugin. So what it does, it just cuts out some of the high end. Then I add an EQ that cuts out the low end and also I still tame a little bit of the high end here. That gives so much to the kick, it just lets it cut through so much better. And the last thing is, I use a compressor. I sidechain it to the drums with a very fast attack and fairly fast release. So basically, when the drums come in, the audio of the sample will duck a little bit, making space for the drums so they cut through better. Lastly, I just throw in a little bit of compressor and a limiter on the master so it glues the sample and the drums together. And that's actually it. After I add a little bit of bass and structure out the beat, here's how it sounds. If If you're serious about learning how to make crazy sampled beats, come join Sample Academy. You will get my personal help, tons of samples and drum kits, full learning resources, and an awesome sampling community. Click the first link in the description and I'll see you inside.